Okay, stream is started.
Sweet.
Now I'm going to start the podcast.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back. Back in New York. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, it's like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it's the New York Knicks Podcast, episode 512, part of the Lineups Podcast Network at lineups.com, the Big Heads Media Network at bigheadsmedia.com, and Dash Radio. Go to the New York Knicks Podcast.com/ticket club for 20% off an annual membership. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing I'm doing
Doing
That's kind of what I think of the post the off season. It's been meh. It's been blah.
and meh. Yeah.
Meh blah.
Mhm.
But it's fine. There's nothing. Is there anything wrong really with this off season for the Knicks?
It has not been terrible.
No, it's definitely. Has this been a disaster in off season? Did they sign Derrick Rose and trade for Joakim Noah?
No. It's yeah, I think meh is a good word for it. It's
Is there any outrageous contracts?
no, I wasn't furious. I was prepared. I was buckled up. I was just waiting for them to go all in on an aging ex-star, or maybe
Gordon Hayward's not. He could actually have some. He's only 30. He could have some pretty good years ahead of him. It wouldn't have been a terrible move getting him.
that $30 million a year though, and
It's a lot. Absolutely a lot.
he's had quite an injury history the last few years too.
No, I'm not saying they should have got him. I'm not upset they didn't get him. I'm just saying, like, if you got him at $20 million a year, you'd be like, oh, okay, he's going to put up some decent numbers for you.
Yeah, 20, 30 is a completely different story.
30 is a lot for anyone. What do you? He went to Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think for Charlotte and not the? I thought it was a solid move for Charlotte. I mean, who else is going there?
I would almost rather not have him than have him at 30 million.
If you're Charlotte, you just got LaMelo. You're probably trying to like be good, like get good faster. Like you're probably not trying to tank another year.
Absolutely.
So maybe
yeah.
you get LaMelo, you surround him with you get a guy like Gordon Hayward, start to build a good team around him. Not the worst idea.
It could be worse. I'm glad the Knicks didn't do it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And the Knicks don't also, they have no one that you're like, this is a star. And there's no young player you're like, this is the guy they need to build around. We have guys that we think are like, could be part of the core, but no one like, I mean, Charlotte's hope is that LaMelo will be an all-star.
Yeah.
And like we've drafted like this guy going to lead our franchise. Knicks have no one where you're like, I like RJ, I like Mitch. I'm hopeful about Obi Toppin, and I guess I'm hopeful about him. Like, we're not going to be like, we're going to build a franchise around this guy.
Right. Yeah. I was looking at the roster and I'm trying to figure out, you could probably figure out who the starters are. Right.
I guess. I don't know if you can actually.
Well, let's do it.
I think. Okay. Do you first off? Do you want to go? Do you want to do that now, or talk a little more about what the Knicks actually did?
Okay. Let's.
I know
what the Knicks
most
did.
of the fans are caught up, or I'm assuming what they know what's happened already.
No,
But
most people just wait for our podcast to come out.
Exactly. Of course. So draft night, they got Obi Toppin. That's where our last show. They drafted Emmanuel quickly in the second round, in the end of the first round. We can get to them punting in the second round in a moment. Then they signed Austin. After that, we thought we were waiting for the bad moves to come, and there really weren't any bad moves.
No,
I mean they're all like mediocre.
Yeah,
they got Austin Rivers. They brought back Alfred Payton. They got Alec Burks. Who else?
Nerlens Noel.
I like that move.
Omari Spellman.
Yeah, but that was part of the Ed Davis move where they They got Ed Davis, got 2 draft picks to take him, and then turn him around and got a third second round pick for getting rid of him, and got Omari Spellman and got Jacob Evans for him.
All second rounders.
All second round, but this is that wheeling and dealing was pretty awesome, right?
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the starting point guard?
I still think it's Elfrid. I think he's the only
True point guard?
True point guard. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could. Austin Rivers is more of a tweener.
Mhm.
Emmanuel Quickly, which I think was a good pick. I don't know if he's the guy they should have taken there, but I think he could end up being a really good NBA player. But he also sounds more of a tweener. He does not sound like a true point guard, even though he's played point guard.
I think all the guards on the team are tweeners. Like all of them. It's crazy.
Ntilikina, we're obviously not sure if he's a point guard. Dennis Smith is more of point guard than other guys, but he's, I guess, a tweener also. What do you think?
I think he's a tweener.
Okay.
Yeah.
They say Jacob Evans is the point guard. I know nothing about Jacob Evans. So, and there's also that guy Jared Harper who's got a 2-way contract.
I don't think either of those guys you're gonna need to know much about.
Okay.
Shooting
guard. So
just a hunch.
you say you think it's Elfrid Payton. I think there's a good chance it's Elfrid Payton also. I mean, also, it's going to change so much this lineup, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this team's going to have the issue that the Knicks, last couple of years, they've had a lot of issues with like who's the starter, who's the bench player. Especially last year, it was really hard to find 5 guys and merge it. These are the 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's around the same, so minutes are kind of harder when you don't have guys like really outperforming other players.
Right. Yeah. You have a roster of like all the guys should arguably get playing time, but nobody's that much better than anybody else.
Right. If you're on the Lakers, no one's like, oh, I need LeBron's playing time. And obviously we don't have a LeBron here, but like you need guys who are just better than everyone else who be like, these are the 5 starters.
Right.
Or at least these 3 of the 5 starters. We don't really have that.
Yeah, because like Austin Rivers wasn't really like, why aren't I playing over Harden?
Right, exactly. So you could do this at every position. Like shooting guard, I think RJ Barrett's a 3. But so it's not even clear what position RJ Barrett's going to play. But all the guys, like, it's not clear that he's going to be so much better than Alex Burks or so much better than. Well, I guess that's the only shooting guard, really. Or no, he's not. He's going to be that much better than Reggie Bullock.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess a shooting guard. Who do you? Is it going to be Bullock starting?
I don't think so. I think it would be
Burks.
I think it might be Burks or Barrett.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you could start Barrett at the 3.
So okay. So if you're doing that, then you're not starting either Toppin or Randall.
No, you're going to start them at the 4. They're 4s. Toppin and Randall are both power forwards. You're not going to play them at the 3.
You can't start both. So
no, you can never start them both. Toppin and Randall should never be on the court at the same time.
Okay.
You're not going to be like, hey, let's put our 2 bigs who play no defense out here together.
Okay. All right.
I mean, actually, the Knicks would do that, but I assume bringing in Nerlens Noel was part of their philosophy of like, hey, we need more defense to make up for the fact that like our power forwards can't play defense.
So Payton, Burks, Barrett, Randall, Robinson.
I mean,
starting lineup.
Payton, Burks, Barrett, Randall, Robinson. Yeah, I could see that. I'm going to say Randall's going to start over Obi Toppin because he's the vet. Hopefully Toppin overtakes him pretty fast or like by mid-season.
That means you have Frank, Rivers, Bullock, Toppin, Noel as like the next 5. And then everyone else is getting like no playing time.
This team is not going to win a lot of games. This is really like, I said this on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
If Thibodeau gets this team to 30 wins, he's hands down consensus coach of the year.
Yeah.
This team is not a good team.
Now, remember, when we say 30 wins, it's a 72-win season, 72-game season now.
Right. 30 would be, I mean, it's still not a great season, but like for this team, that would be like a monumental task. there's just too many issues on this team. I mean, like, best case with everything, Barrett really steps forward. His shooting is better. He really looks like a player coming into his own. Best case, Ntilikina steps forward a little bit. Dennis Smith looks like much more of a point guard, not trash. Knox has a clue on defense. Julius Randle looks a little better under Tibbs and doesn't hold the ball as much. Toppin's like a force on offense right away. IQ, Emmanuel Quickly, is like, his shooting is so good that like he just helps the team. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we can pretend that are going to happen. It's just a lot of things have to go right, really right, to have this team be competitive.
Yeah. I do think that Austin Rivers is going to get a lot of minutes.
Of course. Why would he not, though?
Yeah, he's probably one of the better players on the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine.
That's not really a good thing.
So let me ask you, I have some questions for you. Do you think this was Rose's plan all along? Or do you think Rose pivoted at the last moment when he realized he wasn't getting stars?
Yeah, I think he pivoted. I think a few of the free agents he wanted decided to go elsewhere, and so he called an audible and decided, I'm just going to get okay guys. I'm not going to sign any bad contracts, and I'm not going to trade away draft picks.
Right. He didn't look like he wanted to go, like, he could have overpaid for Gordon Hayward. He could have overpaid for guys. He didn't do that. But it definitely didn't look like he was like, hey, this is just play the young guy that's a rebuilding year. There were obviously lots of rumors. It's just the first thing, going back to the draft real quick, Toppin, I reacted pretty poorly on the draft show. And now that it's been a little while, what do you think of the Toppin pick?
Still would really much rather them draft a point guard. Baby Aqua is saying that they're a very good defensive team right now. Their backcourt is definitely solid defensively.
Yeah.
And Mitchell and Noel are both excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just the four that you're lacking on defense.
I think it's hard to win in the NBA with fours that can't play defense. I mean, we'll find out. But I think it's hard to win fives that can't play defense. I think
if you have a good enough five, you can get away. I think you can get away with like one position if the rest are good. You can hide somebody.
I really like first of all, I did not realize Noel was only 26 years old. Like, he's been in the league, it seems like, since the dawn of time.
It does
right?
seem like he's been in the league for a while, yeah.
I mean, he was at the beginning of the process, trust the process. So, but I like what he brings. It seems like him and Mitchell Robinson bring very similar qualities in the sense of like pretty solid rim protectors.
Yeah, if Robinson can't play over 30 minutes a game again for foul trouble or whatever, Nerlens Noel is completely capable of playing 18 to 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, so I like the fact that I think what this team did was interesting. And again, we don't know. I'm sure the moment we release the show, they'll make some major move and this offseason will completely change. But assuming nothing changes dramatically from here, and I know they have some cap space, there's a lot of guys that duplicate each other in some ways, but not like Robinson leaves the floor, Noel, they do similar things, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Julius Randle and Obi Toppin kind of duplicate each other in some respect. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. At least they both can score. You have like a lot of scoring with either guy.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to score. There's a lot of players that are not the greatest on offense. So if you have a couple that can put in buckets, it's good.
So Toppin, I didn't love the pick. I would have rather point guard. I don't think the lack of defense concerns me, but he's got ups. He was college player of the year. There's a lot of reasons to like him, right?
There is. Yeah. I mean, my main gripe last episode was that the Knicks really needed a point guard. And the fact that the Knicks are running back Elfrid Payton now kind of proves my point, I think.
It is weird that they said, our point guard trio last year was goddamn awesome. Let's run this back. Okay. So then the second pick was IQ, Emmanuel Quickly. And at the time, neither of us had heard of him.
Right.
We don't watch a lot of college basketball. He was, I think, SEC Player of the Year. What do you think about that pick now in retrospect?
The Knicks need shooters. I mean, you got Bullock, which is fine. You can never have enough shooters, and the Knicks really don't have a ton. Peyton's not a good shooter. Randall can't shoot from outside 15 feet. Mitch isn't really a shooter. So like, and the more shooters they can add, the better. I think that's why the Knicks' plan was to get people like Hayward, like people who could knock down a three, and the Knicks don't have a lot of that. So
I think you had said, I think you had said at some point, you want guys who are like elite at something. Like you were talking about Tyler Hero, and you were saying like he's elite at shooting, right?
yeah.
Quickly, he has a lot of limitations in his game. The one thing he's elite at is shooting. It's not a bad thing to get a guy who's elite at shooting.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing.
Also, if you look at so his freshman year, he was basically a bench player. It was a disappointing freshman year. His progress between freshman year and sophomore year was a huge jump. So I like that just because he works really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge positive because he's not going to be satisfied where he is. He's going to work extra hard. We need guys on the Knicks who work really hard. So that's a huge thing, I think, also.
Absolutely.
So I don't think he's necessarily a prototypical point guard, but very solid shooter. Could they have got him in the second round? What do you think? Like with the 33rd pick, say?
It's possible. But I mean, at that point in the draft, if there's a guy you want, you take him. I mean, it's the 25th pick. It's not that big of a difference.
Okay.
I mean, if you want him and then you pass on him and somebody takes him at the 29th pick, then you don't have the guy you want. And what's the difference, really?
Right. I guess at the 25th pick, if you think this guy's going to be a true contributor in the NBA, take him. Don't everyone else. At that point, a lot of guys end up just not being having NBA careers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay, the next thing was they made that trade to move down from 23 to 25,
Mm-hmm.
And they got the 33rd pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then they punted on the 33rd pick for 3 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that move?
If they didn't see anybody they wanted and they think it's going to be a deeper draft, then that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Are you really?
I am.
I have to say, I find this the most outrageous, absurd. I think people have been tying themselves in knots to try to explain why this makes sense. You're saying there were 27 guys in this draft in the second round who were not worthy of taking a flyer on?
Maybe they are.
I just think it's an organization that thought they were going to do something different in free agency, and now in retrospect looks like goddamn more. I mean, I like a lot of things the other things they did were okay. I think this was just stupid. It may not matter because a lot of second round picks don't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of guys in the NBA who are second round picks who have had quite the career. It's a year where it was really hard to evaluate players, which means there's a decent chance some guys who are pretty good could fall in the draft. I would bet. I'll make you a burger bet that there's at least one. I'm not gonna say all-star, but I bet there's a couple guys in the second round where we're like, wow, that guy's pretty good, and the Knicks could have had him.
I'm sure, but it's such a crapshoot at that point.
But why not? Is anyone else on this roster so important you couldn't have been replaced with the 33rd pick? It's a high second round pick. It's almost a first round pick.
Look,
why not draft a guy and try to develop him?
Who are you not going to have on this roster right now?
Almost anyone.
You're going to
outside of RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson and the other two guys they drafted, you could have anyone else on the team.
You're going to tell me with a straight face that the Knicks can move forward without Omari Spellman?
I will cut Iggy Brazdenikis in a goddamn heartbeat. Obviously, a lot of guys weren't even on the team at that point. There's no reason. This team is a goddamn wasteland, desert for talent, and you have a chance to get 27 teams after the Knicks were like, hey, it makes sense to take a second round pick. The Knicks are like, you know what other teams are picking talent? We're going to zig when they zag and go with no talent. The punt and just strategy. Say, hey, we're going to wait for the second round of 3 years from now because we have such a good team is so. If the Lakers said, I don't need a second round pick, that's fine. You just won the title. The Knicks are one of the worst teams in the last decade, and they can't take a second round pick.
Can't do it.
Way
too many guys on this roster. Right
I am to the point where if they had a normal, the owner, I guess James Dolan's insane. But if another owner was like, you're punting on the second round pick for 3 years from now, you're fired. We could just move on and have someone else do the rest of this.
Collecting assets.
That's how bad I think this is.
Really? I mean,
I know I'm overreacting.
Schroeder got. Oh no, they that trade wasn't what I thought. Right? It was it 2 second rounders, or did they throw in a first for Schroeder?
They threw in. It was.
Oh, Danny Green. Right?
Yeah, Danny Green.
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
No, I mean, but there's also like there are guys in the there. Who was it? Someone got $18 million a year. Who was the 33rd pick? I forgot who it was.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of guys that work out that way, but
there are plenty of guys. Usually, each year there's at least 1 or 2 guys in the second round who end up being very good players.
Yeah, but this was a draft where it wasn't even deep in the top 10. So like,
but everyone said from there it's kind of flat, and it's also it's hard to evaluate players. So maybe the guys you're not maybe your people are getting guys wrong, and so guys can fall who are in the pretty good.
I think you're making
one of our
too much out
one of our
this.
2 best players right now, Mitchell Robinson, was a second round pick.
I think you're making way too much out of this.
I just think for a team that's trying to get better, this is just a stupid move. I think you have a chance to get talent. This is the one part of the year where like talent, you can just pick who you want basically and just bring in talent. You don't have to sign them in free agency. You just get to pick a guy. I thought this was a really okay. I'll move on.
Baby
so the
Aqua
next thing
came up with an interesting point. He said he doesn't think that the Knicks would have signed Peyton if they knew Rivers was available.
Yeah,
which
I think that's true too.
Yeah, because there's a lot of guards on this team now, and somebody's not going to get minutes. That
it's a guard league. Someone else on Twitter made the point. They were like, at this point, if Ntilikina or Dennis Smith aren't getting minutes, it's on them, not the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, because some of these guys aren't going to get minutes at all.
Right, but like at this point, Ntilikina, like you're going to have practices, you're going to have games. The team's going to be really bad, so everyone's going to have a shot. You got to separate yourself.
Yeah.
If Ntilikina and Dennis Smith in year 4 are still looking like just mediocre, maybe they're just not that good of NBA players.
Do you know who the longest tenured Knick on the team is?
It's you only because you told me this already, Ntilikina.
Yeah. Isn't that insane? He's still on his rookie contract.
It is so insane. It is so. Does it feel like every year when they're trying out a different strategy also with this team? And I know they would keep changing like team presidents and everyone's in charge, but like one year it's play the young guys, then the next year it's let's try reclamation projects, then the next year it's let's try vets and try to like be good like the Nets were, so the free agents will come here. Then the next year it's like let's go back to young guys.
The next year it's let's try all power forwards.
Yes, it just seems like they have all these weird strategies. It doesn't seem they have a coherent plan. And a lot of these guys they brought in, I would have liked to have seen like what's his name? Who was the guy in Denver? Beasley on Minnesota signed. Like Malik Beasley, young guy in a 14-game stretch on Minnesota, played goddamn awesome. Why not throw a huge contract out on him and see how it works out? Take some gambles, find some other guys, maybe the guy DeMelton. What's his name?
Anthony Melton.
Yeah. Take a chance on him. Take a chance on a young guy who has real upside. Throw some extra money his way. It doesn't work out. It is what it is. But these guys, you're not really trying. All these guys. Austin Rivers, I guess he has a 3-year deal, but like he's not part of the future.
Just wait till next year.
It's always wait till next year. Omari Spellman. Yeah, I mean, he's got a bit of upside. He's a younger player. That's fine. That's a decent move. But most of these guys are like, is Alex Burks really part of the future?
Well, the thing is, I like a lot of these guys. I like Burks. I like Austin Rivers. But it's a whole team of like 6th through 8th men.
Yeah, it's a whole team of non-starters.
Yeah, which is
like,
not good.
it's questionable where this entire roster would not start on many teams.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some good players. It's just I don't know. I mean, not that like does this team look like it's designed to tank?
I don't think the Knicks have tanked in the last 20 years. I think they just assemble terrible rosters and lose a lot.
I think they tanked in the KP year. You
think so?
They traded everyone away, and they really second half of the season they had just. I was gonna say it was the shittiest team possible. Then a couple years later, they won 17 games again while trying. I feel like that year you could argue they really tanked. I don't know. This year, it's a weird. So I posed this question on Twitter. What happens if like Tibbs says, "I want to play the vets, not the young guys"? Is that what does that show about the organization? Like, shouldn't Tibbs and Rose both be like on the same page, and Rose is like play the young guys?
Who are the vets?
I don't know.
Even the vets are like 26.
Someone challenged me on this, and I was like, I guess the young guys. I just want to see Barrett and Mitch play, which are probably going to happen no matter what. And I guess Toppin and IQ play. I don't even care if Knox plays. Knox is not that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird team.
You want to go to some emails?
Yeah, we got a bunch of emails and a bunch of questions. So do it.
nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. Jonathan writes, I am pumped about Obi. I know we need a point guard, but Killian Hayes was the one that I wanted because Halliburton is not a true point guard. Obi is a monster on the offensive end. His defense, we all know, is not good enough, but I trust Tom and his staff to teach him. Now our core looks kind of good with RJ, Mitch, and Obi. Now I don't mind to overpay a little bit for Van Fleet.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded overpaying for Van Fleet. Also, another guy who's like not amazing, and I think he probably was going back to Toronto unless we really blew him away, but would have been decent.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you could say about any of those guys, like Van Fleet or Hayward or anything, it could have messed up our draft position for next year. It's supposed to be a deep draft. And I guess we're playing for the draft position next year, right?
I still think they didn't do it by choice, but yet now we're going to have a good chance at a good pick again.
By the way, I do kind of think that no matter what the Knicks do, like that 33rd pick thing, I think is insane. And I like Knicks Twitter in some respect is defending it. I think the Knicks could just the Knicks could have drafted a guy in a wheelchair, and at least some faction of Knicks Twitter be like, yeah, but he's really good in the pick and roll, and like this makes sense analytically.
Mm.
You don't think pretty much anything the Knicks do, some part of sports will just defend them?
Yeah, no, there's definitely. I've seen a lot of. We saw it firsthand. We saw people defend Noah. We saw people defend Rose. Well, one person made 2 separate accounts to give us 2 1-star reviews when we didn't like the Derrick Rose signing. Like, yeah, you're right. There's literally nothing that people won't defend.
I mean, it's an interesting roster. I guess the good thing about this is like, if Ntilikina looks good, no one's going to be like, oh, but Peyton needs those minutes or Austin Rivers needs those minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If Ntilikina looks good, he just gets to play.
Yeah.
If there's no one that really like, if Toppin looks good, he just takes Randall's minutes. No one's a big deal if you bench them here.
So Ake just wrote, Mark Berman just posted the Knicks really prefer Oladipo to Westbrook. Oladipo's on an expiring contract, so why not? Also, Tank for Cade. So
I like Tank for Cade.
I would rather Oladipo than Westbrook as well.
I don't think either one's coming here.
I don't either, but if I had to choose, I would choose Oladipo over Westbrook.
Okay, fair.
I mean, Westbrook is, 32?
He's still pretty good. I mean, I think it's just his contract sucks. And he kind of
terrible.
There's some parts of his game that don't make everyone else better, but he's still obviously a very good player.
Yeah, but he has the type of game that's not going to age gracefully. And at 32, playing the way he plays, that can look real ugly real quick.
Okay, fair. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't want Westbrook on this team. I don't think the value you get out of Westbrook is better than like, I don't know, just being bad next year. This team it's been so long since they've been good. And to a certain extent, I was like, they're going to go get Westbrook and go get Hayward and just do like the dumbest possible moves. And you know what? That'll at least be interesting.
Yeah.
This team is so not like, I feel like this team if the season starts December 22nd, by January 12th, we're like, so let's talk about that draft again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's going to be a lot of talk about the trade deadline. Maybe.
I mean, you have to also think like after next draft, the team just has to start getting good, right?
Yeah.
How long can they do this? How long can we trust the process of this?
We can't keep doing a podcast year after year if this is the way it's going to be.
It's really just pain. Okay, go on. Next.
Micah writes, my dad coached Miles Powell, and I watched a lot of Marcus Howard. I liked the Knicks my whole life. I would have signed them. I'm sure they can score off the bench. I'm not a brain surgeon, but I bet. Do you know either of these guys?
Miles Powell, the Knicks signed.
Okay. They're short, but they can shoot the ball. They were short in college, too. Miles Powell was face guarded at half court the whole year and averaged over 20. So
what's the date of this email, Jay?
This is from 4 days ago.
Oh, okay. He said it after Powell was signed, right?
Yeah, that was more than 4 days ago, right? Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
7 days ago.
It would just be interesting if he called it before the Knicks signed him. It's he has a training camp invite. There's no we don't know yet if he'll be on the team. They've currently given their 2-way contracts to this guy Theo Pinson, who people have said makes no sense, and then who's the point guard they gave it to? Jared Harper, who people seem to like.
Mm-hmm. Jefferson writes, looking at this roster with Obi and Quickly, I'm liking it very much with RJ. Obi is 40% at 3, and you have another shooter that was drafted. Now, if the Knicks are able to trade Randall for any vet point guard to at least give our younger players a chance under our new coach to show what they got, will make this drafting Obi a much better pick. Will this make drafting Obi a much better pick?
So Obi was low volume 3-point shooter. He shot maybe 2.5 3-points, like 3 threes a game. He did shoot high percentage. I don't know if this is going to translate. I don't know if he's actually going to be a good 3-point shooter. You can never trust low volume, high percentages. So I don't really know if he's a 3-point threat yet. But if Toppin ends up being a really good player, that changes everything, really.
Yeah.
Like if Toppin ends up being like, hey, this guy could be an all-star, well then that changes the trajectory of the whole franchise. I think we're both on would you say you're in the assumption that Toppin's not going to be that good?
I don't know if he's not going to be that good. I think he's just going to
he'll be like another Randall, basically.
I think he's probably going to have a better shot. I know it's small sample size, but I already feel better about his shot than Randall. I cringe every time Randall takes a 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be a better passer than Randall. But the issue is really we have a big who's good on offense. I mean, Cantor's good on offense also, just was just terrible on defense. I hope Toppin ends up being really good. I hope our initial reaction is completely wrong. We're doing shows about how we're such morons for our initial reaction. If Toppin ends up being really good, then you have a real core to build around. If he ends up being really good, Barrett takes a step forward, then you may be onto something.
There's potential. There's potential. I'm cautiously optimistic.
No one has started playing yet, so we can only talk in the most this is about as positive we can get, right?
Yeah, if you're a new listener to this podcast, we're usually pretty optimistic for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Remember at the Summer League when Knox had a big game at the end of the Summer League, and we're like, this guy's going to be awesome.
Every Summer League. Remember we were excited about Balkman because he had a 30-point game in Summer League?
I think it was a preseason game, but yeah, that was, or maybe it was a Summer League. I don't know. But yeah, he had that crazy one. I mean, who knows? I mean, Dennis Smith had a 30-point game against the Knicks, and then the Knicks traded for him the following week. There are a lot of guys who could be good. I think the big hope with this team is that they've got a lot of good guys who are supposed to be good with player development. And Tibbs is a coach with a lot of experience who on day one knows what he's doing. The Knicks have had coach after coach who have been kind of just newbies in the coaching world, trying to really figure their stuff out. And it doesn't help to have a young team with a coach that doesn't really know what he's doing.
Yeah.
If Tibbs can get this team if Tibbs can get everyone to buy into his system, there's a lot of potential.
Jorge writes, hey guys, why are you so down on Obi? Dude averaged 27 and 2 with 65% field goals, 39% threes. I see him as a young, mellow Paul Millsap. Just be grateful we didn't trade up to get him.
Yeah.
It really was. It wasn't so much it was Toppin. It was more that we both really wanted them to draft a point guard.
I wanted a point guard, but I would have taken another guy and I would have taken other guys also. I just hear big that doesn't play defense, and I'm like, we already have Randall. Mm-hmm. Why do we need him? But we spent the last couple of years talking about bigs who just don't play defense and these guys suck, and now we're let's draft that guy, that mold.
Yeah. Haggai writes, our moves so far: Obi Toppin, CAA; Emmanuel Quigley, Kentucky; Ed Davis, CAA; Alfred Payton, CAA; Theo Pinson, CAA. He shot 18% from 3, by the way. Nerlens Noel, Kentucky. I believe Austin Rivers is CAA too, by the way.
Noel was a good pick. I just saying he's not a good pickup. He's a solid pickup.
By providing safety nets, Knicks help recruit players to Kentucky and Kentucky players to CAA. I wonder if the league looks into this ever. It's really dumb and hurts everyone except CAA and Kentucky. Alec Burks. Here is a challenge. He is not CAA or Kentucky. The hometown cooking here is our assistant coach, Johnny Bryant, who is CAA and coached him in Utah. I love this signing. I'm sure he's not done developing at 29, and if he's good, we'll lose him to free agency next year. Overall, productive way to take minutes away from RJ. Well, this is such a bitter email. Question, who wins more games?
I'm sure he's not done developing at 29. You knew it wasn't going to be that nice at that point after that.
Question, who wins more games, Cleveland, OKC, or New York? I assume these will be the bottom three.
OKC's going to win a lot more games than the Knicks. I don't think that one's going to be close. OKC still has a decent amount of talent.
Yeah, OKC's definitely going to be the best of those three.
Cleveland's going to be really, really bad, but they still have Kevin Love if he's healthy.
Yeah, that's if he's healthy.
I have a question. If the Knicks win 16 games this year, are they the worst team in Knicks history? But they're not because it's a shortened season.
Right.
There's the real debate. It's going to be at the end of the season. Does it really count if it's a shortened season?
So
I
would say Cleveland's going to be the worst of those three.
Yeah, I'd say Cleveland. I'm so negative. I'm sorry, I'm so negative. I really hope this team is better than I expect. Toppin, people love him on offense. It'd be nice to have a guy who's a real force on offense to start his career. That'd be awesome. And maybe Tibbs, who is as good a defensive coach as you're going to get. He can really teach him just teach him defensive awareness will make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got one more email. Jonathan writes, I know we need a point guard, but aside from maybe Killian Hayes, I didn't trust anyone. Did we read this one? No, it's similar though. Think about it. Halliburton is not a true point guard. He's not a playmaker. There are questions about his frame. Kira Lewis, first of all, is 19 years old, and I'm so tired of drafting players that are projects. He is not a good shooter, doesn't play defense. The only good thing about him is his speed. With Obi, at least we are not going to hear the same shit about the other players. He is so young. He needs to put in some muscle, etc. I think he's going to be good on offense since day one, and if we trusted Tom and Steph to develop a point guard, we need to trust him that at least teach Obi how to be average on defense. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's all fair. And maybe the fact that you have a Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel next to them, that'll make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
RJ's defense is not bad. I mean, Ntilikina obviously can play defense. They have some guys in this defense on this team. I mean, Knox's defense sucks, but I don't. You want to go to Facebook questions?
Yeah. Nomad is asking why the Knicks didn't sign Van Fleet 4 years, $100 million. I believe that's what Toronto did, right?
Yeah, basically. I think they're a little under that, but
4 years, 85 for
yeah, but you got to go really above. He's not going to you probably had to go you probably had to go close to 4 years, 120 million, or maybe 4 years. Maybe 4 years, 100 million would have done it. I don't know. I mean, are you using the question is the cap space so valuable that you don't want to just try with one of these players?
Well, I think he might not have come because he's going to be on a team that's going to go deep into the playoffs every year. At that point, you have so much money. Is it worth making a little bit more and then not making the playoffs in your prime?
I also hope they're trying to make more moves to use their cap space to get more players. I mean, get more assets.
Could be. I mean, yeah, if the Knicks went in really heavy and offered them $120 million or something, that's their cap.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, the question is really, what are you keeping the flexibility for? No one is signing here next summer either. The point of having this flexibility is to go after a young player that might end up being really good to help your team.
They're saving it for Frank.
I just don't see none of the big names are really coming. Also, next summer, everyone has cap space. A lot more teams have cap space. You're going to be even less competitive in free agency. You're going to have to take a chance on a young player, throw a bunch of money at him, and hope it works out. That's really you're going to have to make the Tim Hardaway move, which is not a great move. Hardaway's not that great of a player, but that's the kind of move you're going to have to really make. Find someone else like that where you think he's going to get better from here and throw a bunch of money in and see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know if Van Fleet's that guy.
No, I don't know if he's that guy either. I mean, I'm just saying, I do think that's what you have to do, though, overall. It doesn't have to be Van Fleet, but it has to be a player like that.
Yeah.
You're not signing an all-star. Like, you're not signing an all-star until the team is a lot better. If the Knicks win 35 games this year, then they're in the running for a decent player. I mean, everyone's looking so much better, basically, on the team.
Yeah, I mean, they might be better off doing like 3 $15 million contracts than trying to give some guy 30.
Yeah, I mean, also the problem with all these like smaller contracts is sometimes you need to differentiate guys based on like if you sign like 2 guys to $20 million contracts, well, those guys are playing, and you already like you said these guys were going to really like you already say these guys are the starters. These guys are if they're getting much money, they're obviously better than the other players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, another path to success though, like Knicks get the number 1 pick, they get this guy Cade Cunningham, who's supposed to be really good. Just like you get Zion, people want to play with this guy, and that'll make a big difference.
True, and yeah, as Baby Aqua points out, there's a lot more point guards in 2021 in free agency.
Hey, but by the way, just for those listening to the podcast, we have a live Twitch feed. Did you say that already, Jay?
No, so we're doing the shows live again. So twitch.tv/crumpled bacon. CRUMPLED bacon. That's my that's my place.
Are you gonna post that on Facebook from now on so people know, or on Twitter?
Yeah, I should do that. I did on Twitter today, but I'll start posting on Facebook.
By the way, but you're like Baby Aqua says, and like no one knows what the hell you're talking about.
That's a good point.
You just say he's like so and so points. I'm like, does anyone know we're doing this Twitch feed?
That is a very good point. I just named like 4 random. I just have like a group of weird named people in my room while I'm doing the podcast.
Jacques Strap says, so before every show, we're going to try to do this on Twitch. We'll post on Twitter and Facebook the Twitch link, and you can do the show live with us if you want. And you can make comments. We'll read your comments on the show, and Jay will say, I don't know, Balls for Life says that Toppin his defense can improve.
And just in case you're wondering, no, Mark does not see the chat because he cannot do 2 things at once. So
I didn't know. I didn't. Oh yeah, I didn't open that. Sorry.
No. Somebody asked last stream if you were, can you see the chat? And I said no, Mark's not allowed to because he'll just be silent and reading the chat the whole time.
You know that's true. You know, I'd like to say that you need to multitask. I'm very bad at single tasking.
Yeah, we did that like a few years ago. We did live through Ustream, and you would literally stop mid-sentence and just start reading the chat. No more chat.
Well, Jay would stop to like type things back to people. I'm like, why are you typing? It's an audio show. Talk.
I mean, I've typed in
but you don't type to people. It's a show.
I've typed in this chat already.
Holy crap. Have you? I should look at your I'm going to look at your video screen. Every time I see you type, I'm going to come to Queens and give you COVID. Okay. I'm going to breathe in your face.
It's not relevant. I mean,
why are you typing? It's a show. It's an audio show.
Somebody said hi, and they love how your name says Elizabeth in your Zoom.
I'm Elizabeth. What's wrong with that?
And I just wrote back, that'll never change. See, this wasn't vital podcast information.
I am not smart enough to figure out how to change that. I'm Elizabeth, and anyway.
Facebook.
We have a bunch of Facebook questions, so
okay.
Let's go.
We have about 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll screw you. I can spend the next 10 minutes just going off the fact that you type the people on the show. Jan writes, please let us know who you think the Knicks are targeting in the second round of each of the next 10 drafts. By the way, this whole double draft thing, didn't we already have high school players come out? Do we remember any of those drafts being these amazing double drafts then?
No, because that was just the draft. Now it's the double draft.
But the first time they allowed high school kids in, it was the double draft also. What's the difference? It's the same thing.
Wasn't that the year Kevin Garnett got drafted?
Yeah, one player.
Well, one of the best players.
It doesn't. Having one good player from high school does not make it a double draft.
Maybe the Knicks will get the next Kevin Garnett.
All the players that are right now are going to be in this double draft are currently freshmen and sophomores in high school. We have no idea if these players are actually going to be good or not. That draft could be just like this draft, complete trash. It'll be double the amount of trash. Or it could be a really good draft. I'm just saying, like, they'll be like, oh, this was smart. We went all in on the draft for 3 years from now. That's wonderful. And are we if we don't have room on our current desert of a roster for a second round pick, in 3 years, are we going to have room for 4 second round picks?
Stay tuned in this episode where Mark spends the entire time ranting about the 33rd pick in the draft.
I just think it was just unbelievably stupid. And by the way, the guy that went 33rd, I don't know who he is, but he will go to the Hall of Fame. We know that, right?
He's definitely going to be a keeper in the NBA.
Patrick writes, many points does Toppin how many points does Toppin average this season?
I guess that really, really depends on if the Knicks trade Randall, right?
Randall's not getting traded. And the only way Randall's getting traded is if Westbrook comes here. You're going to have to get back a worse contract to move him. I don't think the Knicks also, if the Knicks do that, their depth at power forward is pretty slim there.
I think Toppin averages 12 to 14 points.
I'm going to say 15 points a game.
All right.
I think he's going to get 25 minutes a game, maybe more. Like, even if Randall's not going to play 40 minutes a game, I mean, I guess it's Tibbs. Maybe he'll play 48 minutes a game. But Paul writes, I don't hate Nerlens Noel.
Agreed.
I almost feel like Nerlens Noel is a guy that, like, I do like guys who kind of just get lost a little bit in the NBA and actually have a lot of potential. And when given the opportunity, they could really excel. And I think Noel's a guy that, like, he kind of got lost off those Philly teams. He bounced around a little bit, had some injuries. He's 26 years old. I actually think he could be a pretty good player still. I think he might be the best of their signings. He could be the best one.
I mean, I think he's great for like 15, 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he could be more than that.
Yeah.
Like, I think he legitimately could, like, I mean, who the heck knows? But I think he could be a 20, 25-minute game guy who really contributes. You're like, how did this guy bounce around so much?
Baby Aqua says the difference in the double draft is that it's loaded.
How do we know that? It's 3 years from now. All the guys are in high school, are freshmen and sophomores in high school. How do you know it's loaded?
Well, you have double the pool of players entering it. So the odds.
No, you don't. It's the same thing it was when Garnett came in. It's the same amount of, like, the same exact thing. Those weren't double drafts then. How is it different? We allowed high school players once, and we allowed high school players again. It's not. A lot of the high school players will not opt for the draft.
They'd be insane not to. What are they going to go to college and rack up debt and not make millions?
Also, do you remember last time they had this with the high school players? The problem was all these teams were drafting high school players who were not working out and just wasting picks because, like, it's so hard to evaluate high school players.
Nomad writes, would the Knicks take the first for a terrible contract like John Wall with that cap space?
Would they take a
first round pick attached to a
for if it's Washington? I might do that for Washington. Washington's going to be really bad, so that's a high round pick.
I would definitely consider that. Absolutely.
I mean, also, like, you could either just cut Wall, or you know what? He comes back and plays 2/3 as good as he used to, and that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal? Is Wall still injured, or is he actually going to be playing again?
I have no idea. That guy's been injured since. I feel like he's been injured for like 5 straight years.
I mean, the crazy part also is that you could, like, nail the draft, get a really good player like John Wall, and have it be a disaster thereafter.
Yeah.
Like, we all think John Wall early on in his career was like, wow, you'd be lucky to have this guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was number 1 pick, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing with the injuries how, like, everything goes the opposite, like, it reverses itself.
I know, you never know.
And obviously he had to play well enough to get this horrendous contract.
He actually played in 2019.
Carlos writes,
I feel like he hasn't played in like 5 years. How is that even possible?
You know what? Also, when he plays, he's also he's like 60% of his regular self because of the injuries.
I mean, he played 32 games, yeah, but he played.
At some point, also, we were like, who is it? What's this guy's? The guy that was on Detroit that went to Orlando, injured all the time, great player.
Griffin?
No. Before the time, like, started in Detroit, went to Orlando. Eventually, he was injured for so many. What?
Grant Hill,
yes, exactly. Like, Grant Hill had a gap of like 6 years, it seemed like, where he didn't play in the NBA or barely played. then ended up being a pretty good player. Again, like not as good as he was initially, but like he had a second half to his career.
He went to Phoenix. Everyone miraculously gets healthy in Phoenix.
So John Wall should go to Phoenix.
Did you see what happened to Grant Hill when he left Phoenix? He was out of the league in like 10 games.
Yeah, it's crazy. Also, he was anyway. Paul writes, Carlos writes, training camp combination on the floor: Miles Powell and Obi Toppin. I don't know enough to know why that's interesting. I mean, sure. By the way, so where we are right now, normally the draft happens and basketball doesn't really happen for many months, and there's a summer league and like nothing happens. I think
we lost your audio.
Can you not?
You're freezing now. We almost made it a whole episode without your terrible, terrible audio.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What I was going to say was we're not far from. We're like I think next week training camp starts. In a couple weeks, you might actually have a preseason game. A month from now, the season starts.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So it's actually nice that we don't have to talk about this stuff for that long before we actually get to see these guys in the court.
Yeah, thank God. Summer is usually brutal. We have 4 minutes left. And I think you froze again. So we might not get through this last 4 minutes.
What about now?
Yeah, you're just going to slowly go upstairs.
Yes, I'm going upstairs. I don't know what else to do. Whatever. Feeling like the Knicks free agency announcement will be Ron Baker is coming back. Remember when people said Ron Baker was part of the core?
I know. Tough time.
Jorge writes, what stupid nickname is Obi getting?
Well, he picked the number 1, so you got all the Star Wars references, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel
like Obi itself is such a good name that doesn't really need nicknames. Just
like
an IQ, his initials are such a good nickname as it is.
He'll probably be Obi-Wan.
Jorge wrote for nicknames, Bust. Then he wrote, maybe Bustable. He wrote, Toppin' the Pops, the Poops. Yeah. By the way, also this season, I guess our motto will be we're quickly topping the lottery. Austin Rivers, 3 years, $10 million, another CAA player, by the way. Paul writes, is Rivers going to be the best shooter on this team? If not, who?
Bullock, right?
Oh, Quickly. Quickly was a 90% shooter from the free throw line. He can shoot.
Yeah.
I think he'll be the best shooter on this team. You're right. Bullock would be next. After that, holy crap. I guess Rivers. Rivers is not that amazing of a shooter. It really falls off.
Yeah.
Eugene writes, we need to do whatever is possible to get rid of our silver spoon of an asshole owner. He is the worst owner in the sports and has made the Knicks the laughingstock in all of sports.
These are all true statements.
Yes, can't really argue with that. Tristan writes, when looking at free agents trade targets going forward, do we have to automatically cross off players that aren't CAA? And if that's the case, can you guys read off the list of CAA players and analyze what our chances are of getting them? Feel like it would be a fun waste of time, a time waster for the pod. The CAA thing is just really annoying. I heard even that was people were defending that on Twitter, being like, "Well, it's all about relationships," and CAA is a huge agency. It's still weird.
Yeah, it is.
It's still like it's somehow limiting if you're trying to give favorite. Paul writes, "Bum, we didn't get Bertans. How do players use the Knicks as leverage for better deals? Does anyone really believe they'd sign with us instead?" I bet Van Fleet was like, Toronto, the Knicks are going to make me a bigger offer. And they're like, fine, go there. No, I'll take $85 million. It's totally fine. I didn't mean to. Where's the contract? I'll sign right now. And Paul writes, basketball wise, I prefer Russell Wilson to Russ Westbrook. Office thinks quite differently than me. Think they really Westbrook. It was only his contract that saved us. I think we're willing to give Westbrook away. The Knicks taking him. I think it's because they wanted something for him.
Your audio is barely working at this point.
What the fuck?
I think you're gonna have to go up one more stair.
Okay, I'll go force there. Hang on, I'm just going in the kitchen.
Is
How's
that-
this now?
Yeah, it's better. Is that it for Facebook questions?
Yeah, it's it for the show. Whatever.
All right. Well, and Nomad writes, what would you consider a successful season? Player development, 8 seed, or a high draft pick?
It's player development, and I would think it has to be RJ taking a step forward, Toppin looking like he was the right pick, IQ looking like he was also like the right pick. Those are the things I'd want to see.
Yeah,
And Mitch being able to stay on the court.
Yeah, at this point, somebody's going to have to start developing. It's getting ridiculous at this point.
I mean, if this team gets the 30 wins, and it's because like guys like Burks are playing well and Randall's having a good season, it's still shit.
Yeah.
Like a team that's like fighting for the 8th seed because the vets are playing well, it's not exactly what we want to see.
Exactly. Okay, so
what did we learn today, Jay?
We learned that it's right before the season starts, so we're actually a little positive. This is positive for us, I think.
Oh my God. I've tried getting positive so many seasons. It's just really, really hard.
It gets harder every season. It does.
I think did I talk myself into last season, or last season I was like, screw it also?
You talked yourself into last season.
I've talked myself into most seasons, and I'm starting to talk myself a little bit into Toppin. I talked myself into RJ. I think I told you RJ was going to average 28 points a game, right?
Yeah, you did. You did. You owe me a burger for that, by the way.
Okay. You want to meet me at a restaurant right now?
I'll give you my Grubhub password. Order me a burger. All right, we're out of time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in the Twitch room, everybody. If you want to hit follow, you get notifications when we go live. And
we'll talk for 5 minutes after in the Twitch room.
Yeah. That's the other benefit. You get the post-show banter.
Yes, the post-show banter. Tune in.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye, love.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's all over.
Goodbye. It's time to go.
This is the end.
Say goodbye.
You cannot go away.
I'm gonna leave you.
It's the end.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Just leave me alone.
Feels so good to say goodbye.
I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye.
Goodbye, girl.
Goodbye, 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 everybody.
I feel like we should have done the live Twitch room like 4 years ago before there was a billion people on Twitch.
Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea.
We're always like 3 years late to everything.
I mean, like I think in about 6 or 7 years from now, we'll start doing a live YouTube show also. And eventually, like 10 years from now, we'll do like we'll start a what's the one that all the kids like?
TikTok?
Yeah, we'll start doing TikTok.
Yeah, once TikTok 3 comes out, we'll get on TikTok 1.
Why do you sound so much further away right now?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is
I don't know
it-
what happened with the audio.
Is it quiet?
Yeah, you're. I mean, you weren't quiet during the whole show. Now you're just extra quiet right now. Like it's like you walked away.
That's weird.
Like you really are extra quiet right now.
That's, I don't know. I'm talking the same volume and everything.
Well, could you scream now?
I'm going to blame it on your end.
It's probably my end. Yeah, I just found this team like you go through this whole roster, like Peyton. I guess I understand them bringing him back. I mean, like whatever you want to say about his shooting, he was like a solid. And I know like people said he favored Randall, but Randall also was like if you're a point guard, you want to score, you favor Randall. I mean, he's a decent point guard. He's a decent facilitator, right?
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, before Austin Rivers, he was clearly better than the other guards on the team.
I mean, it's better than just having Ntilikina and Dennis Smith being your only point guards.
Yeah. Baby Aqua says solid defender. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
He's okay. I mean, Quickly is supposed to be good, but I don't know if he's they have so many guys that you just don't know if they really play the position we pretend he does.
It's an entire team of like in between positions.
Yeah. Like it's a lot of the guys like we're trying to put Barrett at the 2, sometimes the 1. He really is more of a 3. Knox really is a 4, not a 3. He's not big enough to play the 4, but he can't guard the 3.
I think Knox is out of the league next year.
I think he'll hang around because he has so much talent. He'll hang around for a while, but like be just like on benches where he just doesn't get a lot of like he doesn't do much.
We'll see. I feel like we overrate all the Knicks players, and then they leave the team and they're out of the league in a year or two.
I guess if you're going to say of the Nick Young players, who's the next Ron Baker? Who's the fastest out of the league? It might be Knox. Actually, no, it's going to be Iggy. I don't think Iggy's going to be in the league very long. I think the reason the Knicks didn't bring him up during the G, last year, he had some big games in the G League. I think the Knicks were like, he's just not that good. There's no point in bringing this guy up.
3-and-D.
Iggy?
No, Knox.
3-and-D? Does there have to be a D part of that?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He seems really terrible on D.
His form and shooting, and I know that's not everything, but his form is really good. I keep thinking like he can be a high volume good 3-point shooter.
Baby's saying burger bet on Dennis.
We had a burger bet on Dennis, or we should?
I think he's saying we should.
Oh, with that Dennis gonna be the next guy out of the league?
Yeah, I feel like Dennis is gonna be one of those guys that's gonna end up in the league for like 7 years because people are gonna think he has so much potential. He's gonna be the next Anthony Randolph.
Well, when you have so much talent, like people are going to keep taking chances on you. Dennis Smith clearly has a lot of talent. I mean, like obviously, like he looks like if he could finish at the rim, he'd be a lot better.
Nomad said, "Rumor is Knox is being scouted by European teams. They know he's not going to be in the NBA."
Is that really a rumor? I mean, that seems like it's very real. That seems like if you are, that would make a lot of sense. I mean,
yeah, that's either real or you're like a really, really good liar because that's too random to be made up.
It does sound like because Knox really he just seems so lost on defense, and I know every once in a while he got a block or do something okay. He just seems like he doesn't really help you on the defensive end overall.
Yeah,
I like Bullock. I don't dislike Bullock. What do you think of Bullock?
I'm fine with him. I think he's fine. The thing is, I think he's like a really good seventh man, but on the Knicks he kind of has to be like a starter almost.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. I mean, he's a guy that could get hot for you and he's okay on defense. I liked him better than I expected. Burks, it's an interesting pickup. I mean, Rivers is an interesting pickup, I feel like. I mean, they're just stop gaps, but
yeah. This whole team could go either way.
They really, you look at the small forward, the small forward depth is weird because, if you don't count Barrett, then it's Knox and Bullock are your small forward. Or there really aren't many small forwards on this team. It's actually, you look at the small forwards, you're like, we don't have one small forward it's like a 3-and-D guy at some level.
ESPN doesn't have the other guys we signed, but they have Wayne Ellington. I don't know what they're doing.
I'm looking at. I happened to pull up I was trying to pull up the depth chart. I found Roto World happened to have it.
Oh, okay. That is probably better than ESPN. ESPN is horrible.
I mean, I'm sure they'll update it at some point, but they really don't If anything, Ntilikina is almost there, an option at small forward.
Could be
if he could shoot
to do a 3-guard lineup.
I feel like in Ntilikina, again, it's all about the shooting, but if he could actually develop a 3-point shot, he'd be a solid maybe 3-and-D guy. But he can't shoot, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's really quite a puzzle with this team.
Roto World's depth chart, point guard, it's half the team.
It really is.
Peyton Rivers.
Oh my!
Evans,
you pulled that up pretty fast. There's 6 guys listed at point guard, and none of them. First of all, they still have to cut one player. I read somewhere that they actually might like Jacob Evans, so maybe they'll keep him. I don't know. Who gets cut?
I mean, according to them, there's 18 guys, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. There's more. I guess you could bring 20 to camp, but they're listing Taj Gibson here, who's not on the team anymore.
Well, I didn't even count him. There's still 18.
Oh, I mean, it's pretty easy though. Like Pinson and Jared Harper, which Harper's not listed here for some reason, are they're two-way players. Powell's not really on the team. He's just coming to he's coming to camp. So it gets down to 15 pretty easily.
Yeah, Pinson and Powell, so they need to cut one more. Could be
Pinson, Powell, and Iggy.
Iggy, probably, yeah.
Iggy's not, or Evans. Sorry, Evans could be cut. I don't know if Iggy's the guy you. Also, the fact that Toppin doesn't play defense and Randall doesn't play a lot of defense. Do you really want a small forward doesn't play defense also with Iggy?
You know, the our network affiliate, lineups.com, they have a good depth chart.
Oh, okay.
I like it, actually.
Oh, okay. What is it? What differences do they have?
They actually have ratings for each player.
Oh, well, that must be just profane.
Let's just say there's a lot of red and yellows and not a lot of green colors on there. But yeah, you could hover over each player and it shows a bunch of stats and stuff. It's actually really good. I'm impressed.
No. Okay, I'm not going to search for it right this second because I can't do two things at once.
No.
But I mean, I'm just wondering, like, is this team going to be entertaining? Like, it could be a team where they score a lot of points but get like a lot of high scoring. Like on the one hand, I'm like, well, they don't play a lot of defense, but maybe they'll lose a lot of games, 130 to 124, so they'll be entertaining games. But I don't actually know. Is there a lot of scoring on this team?
There's not a ton of scoring, but there's, I guess, enough. Nomad St. Burger bet over under on how long Tibbs lasts before he's fired.
I mean, you would really hope Tibbs is going to last his whole contract.
How
Like you
long's his
brought in a
contract?
veteran
5?
coach. Who lasts? I mean, clearly Rose lasts longer than Tibbs because Rose will fire Tibbs before he gets fired himself.
Yeah. That being said, Rose might not last more than 3 years if he messes up the double draft.
Who lasts longer on this team? Rose, Tibbs, or
Frank?
Ntilikina?
I would
People
say it would be that order: Rose, then Tibbs, then Ntilikina.
I mean, the longest, right?
Yeah,
Ntilikina's out first.
Ntilikina might be out after
Next
the
year.
season. I mean, unless they want to pay him.
I mean, do you have to really pay him though? People are like, oh, but now you have to pay him. I'm like, yeah, here's 4 years for like
$4 million.
$4 million. There's not a contract. There's not much you have to pay him. He's not very good. There was a whole thing about we should trade Mitchell Robinson now because we have to pay him this offseason. I'm like, he can barely stay on the court. I know we think he's really good. He's not getting a lot in the open market.
Yeah, you could probably get away with like six a year for Mitch, maybe.
So I was listening to another podcast. That I think maybe it was the Low Post. Anyway, they were talking about I guess the Pacers really wanted Gordon Hayward, but it had to be a sign and trade, and they were offering up Miles Turner, and the Celtics weren't interested in Miles Turner. They'd rather get nothing back than get Miles Turner. Is that a weird one? Like Miles Turner, like you would think obviously he's elite at blocking shots.
I mean, I like Sabonis better than Miles Turner, but I would much rather Miles Turner than Randall.
I mean, the Celtics don't have a lot of big guys. Like, I mean, like you would have thought the Celtics would be like, yeah, if we have to lose Hayward anyway, this is a solid move for us.
That seems weird.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, obviously, I guess they don't really value. Then I heard that I'm like, the Celtics don't think, and I guess his contract now is like $18 million a year, so it is a big contract. But I'm like, oh, I mean, they're not valuing Miles Turner. Then do people really value Mitchell Robinson at all? Because Turner's obviously a much better version of Mitchell Robinson.
I would think, but I don't know. Maybe he's a dick.
I
mean,
I don't know. I mean, I guess I would rather Sabonis over Miles Turner. I agree with that, but
I wonder if these numbers on lineups are their NBA 2K ratings.
Oh,
that would make sense. Randall has an 84, which seems high. Mitch has an 83. Everybody else is lower. Makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even find I tried the quick search. I didn't find it.
I just did Knicks depth chart. It was like the third thing that came up.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me try that again.
It was fourth. It's ESPN.
I mean, that's
World.
pretty impressive for a network that no one's heard of. Yeah, I see it here also.
Yeah. Although they have to update it because they still have Portis on there.
Where did Portis go? Milwaukee?
Portis went to, I think, Milwaukee. I don't know. I feel like
There were a lot of, and we could go over next episode talking about what everyone else did. But there were a lot of moves.
there was.
I was surprised how much like just movement there was.
I think that's the new NBA. There's no players that are going to be with the team for 10 years anymore. Even franchise players play on 4 different teams before they finish their careers now.
Yeah, what is it? Bill Simmons on like a couple episodes ago, he had a whole conversation about like what does this do to the league? It was him and Russillo, and on the one hand, for people like ourselves who like just root for a team, this kind of sucks to have a different team every year, right?
I feel less and less attached.
But the younger generation, it's a thing that kind of developed where they're like they'll follow LeBron. They're like, LeBron's my guy. Whatever. If LeBron signs the Lakers, now I'm a Laker fan. If he goes to Miami, now I'm a Miami fan. They just follow the players. And so that's like different. And that's basically if the young fans just care about who the players are and where they go, then it changes the league. It changes fandom, basically.
I mean, if we ever quit this podcast, I'd be an NBA free agent. Seriously, last year I would have rooted for OKC and Denver.
The only thing one thing about though is if you're living in the city, you can go to the games. I'm not going to, if I'm following LeBron, I'm not going to I'm not flying across the country to see the Laker games. And also the games are on like late at night. I can't really even watch them.
Right, but I would the games I go to would be the Knicks against OKC and Denver.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess my thing is just like, it's hard to root for a team that's not in your city. Because then it's just hard. You have less access to the team.
Unless you get league pass or something.
Yeah, you have a league pass, but the games are, if you're a West Coast, especially, I mean, forget the West Coast. Let's just say you're a Celtic fan, same time zone. I guess you have a league pass, but then how do you people latch on just like the absolute star players. No one's like, oh, I'm a big fan of Bobby Portis, and I guess I'm a Milwaukee fan now.
Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't follow players. Well, Baby Aqua says Doncic. Maybe that's different, but it's like teams that I like. Like, I don't think I'd follow a single player.
You would just say like, oh, this team looks interesting. I'm going to root for them this year.
Yeah. Like I wasn't too into OKC until they, got Gallo and what's his face, Shea.
Yeah, Shea. I mean, they have an interesting team. I agree with you in that to a certain extent, but you don't have the same like. If you're not rooting for the same team every year, you lose. It's not the same passion. You just don't care as much when they lose. You don't care as much when they win.
It's true,
which is fine.
It's true, but if it's a completely different team, I'm just rooting for a jersey color at this point.
No, it's true. I don't jump around from team to team, and I spend most of my time in other sports like baseball. I don't even follow the American League barely. I just follow who the Mets and who they're playing that night.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't care that much about the other teams. But it's still. Even though baseball players move around a lot also, there's usually like you have a lot of like consistency from year to year with the team.
No,
like the same players are on the team for like 4 or 5 years at least.
Yeah,
you really get to know the player. Like if you're building a core of good players.
Nomad saying follow Toronto. They would be a good team to follow. They seem pretty consistent.
They're pretty consistent. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but then again, you could also root for like if you're a Miami fan, you're like, I root for the system, and like we change players, but like the system stays awesome. They develop good players. I mean, it's just like college basketball. You're rooting for a jersey, and the players change every year. But you still get passionate about say Kentucky because like it's the Kentucky system I root for.
That's why I don't watch college really because I went to Northeastern and they're not great at basketball. So.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Cornell. There wasn't really much of a basketball team. But if we went to Kentucky or we went to Duke, we'd be like probably really into college basketball.
Yeah, the only NBA player Northeastern got was JJ Barea.
He was decent, better than anyone else Cornell ever produced.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, but he wasn't there when I was there, so.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah. Any more questions from the chat? I can't read the question, so I.
No, no, I think that's about it. I've been peppering them in as we talked, so I think we got.
Was my my audio bad the whole episode or just the end?
No, it was just the last like 5 minutes. I don't know
Okay.
what was going on, but
Who knows? Like with the internet, but
yeah,
people are saying Obi's like has rookie like at the same time that like they're doubting him. A lot of people are saying he's like a front runner for rookie of the year.
that would be a pleasant surprise.
That'd be pretty awesome. So for the episode? What are you gonna name the episode? You're gonna name the episode. Why you name the episode Obi Toppin Rookie of the Year?
So you just want to make like clickbait episode titles?
I wrote something like there's a comment on someone on Twitter, and they're like whatever, that's clickbait. I'm like, clickbait? There's no link. I was just responding to something someone else said. There's no clickbait. You have to have a link for it to be clickbait.
Twitter is a hellhole at this point.
It really. I have to stop talking to anyone on Twitter. What are you gonna name the episode?
I don't know. I was gonna name it something generic, like breaking down the new Knicks roster or something like that.
How about quickly topping expectations?
It's not bad. Are
You
they though?
You might as well use the names.
I feel like that's a lie though.
Well, it doesn't. Whatever. Quickly topping.
All right. Yeah. Nomad said it was fun. Please do it again. I like having the chat. It adds to the show.
Jay has someone to type to.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Okay.
Just so you know, I only typed twice the whole episode.
Okay, that's 2 more times than you should.
Yeah, give us a follow on Twitch. You'll get a notification when we go live, and we'll do it again.
And we'll post on Twitter and Facebook when we're doing it. And are we going to do Brink on here or not going to do Brink on here?
Yeah, we have another podcast, The Brink of Sanity. We might as well do that on here too. And we're actually going to do some video game streams too.
When do you want to do those?
I don't know. We'll chat tomorrow. We'll figure it out.
You don't want to have a longer conversation right now about all this?
No, I really want to go to bed.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye, everybody.